Scarlet and Violet base set was just revealed, and for us it's like midnight or something like that, but it was just revealed, and today we're going to take a look at some of the cards from this new set. Hey, Nick9 Card TCG, and today, I already said what we're doing. We are going to be looking at select cards from Scarlet and Violet base set. Spoilers, right? Just spoilers for the TCG. Technically, these cards were all officially revealed, but if you're not interested in seeing the newest cards, this video might not be for you. We are going to be talking about specifically the Pokemon X's that were shown off, and then in the future we will look at the whole set as, well, whole, I guess. It's early. I was up late. It's very, very busy for me. I'm very tired. If you haven't already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff tells YouTube this is a good channel. Other people should watch it. Now, Scarlet and Violet, I just want to, before we do it, thank you so much to everybody who worked super hard to get these Pokemon images up onto their websites and translations to make my life and all the other content creators' lives better and more interesting. So thank you all so much for your hard work. It is super, super appreciated. We couldn't do this without you. And I do have links to things like Justin Basil, Antoine Lay, Poke Beach, all that in the video description. So please go check them out. That's who I go to for my translation. So there we go. And now, without further delay, let's go ahead and take a look at these new Pokemon X's. So the first one is Gyarados X, which has a massive 300 HP on just a single stage 1 Pokemon, gives up 2 prizes. That is a real beefy boy. It has the Terrestrial effect, or Terrestrial rule, whatever you want to call it, and it says this Pokemon doesn't take any damage from attacks while on the bench. It has a built-in bench barrier. I don't particularly like that. I don't think it's very useful. I don't think it's very interesting. I think it's kind of lazy. We already have Manaphy. We talked about that in a previous video of why I'm not a big fan of it, but it's very, very likely that in future sets we will get different terrestrial effects. At least I pray we do. Now, we got a couple of attacks here. Waterfall for triple water does 100 damage. It's okay. Triple water is a lot for just 100 damage. Yes, we are a stage 1, sure, but man, that just seems a little unnecessary. The triple water really for 100? We're losing Frostmoth with the Ice Dance ability that would let us power up a Magikarp or a Gyarados on the bench, and then just be able to bring it up and attack with Waterfall for pretty easily. And then maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but, you know, it just doesn't do it for me. And then we have a second attack for 3 waters and 2 colorless. Tyrannical Tail does 180 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it, this attack does 180 more damage, which means you are hitting for 360 damage plus the damage that's already on your opponent's active. It seems like such like, why would you ever need to do that much damage outside of something like a Goodra? Maybe, like, there's nothing that has that much health. There's nothing that has 360 health plus the damage that's already on it. Now, yes, you could just put 1 damage counter on something, and now you hit for 360. You're taking it out 370. That's enough to knock out an Eternatus VMAX with a big charm. It's rotating, so you don't have to worry about that. But it is a thing. Overall, I mean, I do kind of like what they're doing. It has a lot of HP, and it does a lot of damage. And it's kind of like, I'm a beefy boy. I'm going to hit you hard. You hit me hard, and I'm going to hit you even harder. I like that it has 300 health because it means it's likely to survive your opponent's attack so that you can get that Tyrannical Tail off the next turn. I do like that. I do actually really like that. And that's something you'll see is that the Pokemon X's for different stages have varying amounts of HP. We're going to see a stage 2X that only has 310 health, and this is 300 on a stage 1. So I do kind of like the disparity there and kind of what they're going for. The next X is Pokemon. They're all Pokemon. The next X is someone's X. Someone I don't like that's a bad joke. We shouldn't make those kind of jokes. Gardevoir, Gardevoir X. It has the ability Psychic Embrace is offered as you like during your turn. I mean, you may attach a psychic energy from your discard to one of your psychic Pokemon in play. If you do, you put 2 damage on that Pokemon. However, you can't use this ability on a Pokemon that would be knocked out by the ability. So if you really wanted to get a Pokemon out of play, so maybe you have like 5 Pokemon on your bench, and like, I really need to play this Lumineon to get a boss's orders for game, but I have 5 Pokemon on my bench. Well, this one's close to being knocked out, so I'm just going to use Psychic Embrace a couple of times, get some damage on it, KO it, and then I'll be able to bench my Lumineon. Doesn't work that way. You can't KO your own Pokemon with Psychic Embrace. That would be kind of weird for the names Psychic Embrace, and like, are you embracing the Lord? Like, what are you, what are you embracing if you're able to knock out your own? Like, anyway, you have the attack Miracle Force for double Psychic and a colorless, hits for 190, heal any special conditions on this Pokemon. I think that's a little underwhelming, honestly, because there's only 2 status conditions you can heal with this attack, and there's poison and, I guess, 3. Poison, burn, confusion. You can't heal out of paralysis because you're not able to attack when you're paralyzed. So you can't use this to heal the paralysis. You can't use this to heal sleep because if you're asleep, you can't attack. There are situations where this attack does come into play when we're trying to heal poison, burn, confusion. Confusion is kind of annoying because you have to flip heads to make the attack happen. Otherwise, if you flip tails, you take 30 damage. So being able to get rid of that confusion is pretty nice. Being able to get rid of burn is kind of nice before that burn damage, starts to really add up. It's 20 damage in between turns unless you flip heads and cure it. Poison never goes away, so we could just get rid of the poison. And there is a muck that's being released in Scarlet and Violet that says even after your opponent's Pokemon evolves, you do not cure the poison, which is really cool, and I think something very needed for something like poison decks and status condition decks. So you would have to use this attack to cure the poison on, say, a Curlia. You evolve into the Gardevoir. That muck says, no, you're still poisoned. It's that strong of a poison, and we have to do something else to get rid of that poison, and the attack does that, so kind of cool. The next X is the Great Tusk X, 250 health. It's a fighting type. It has a 4 retreat cost, which is abysmal, but whatever. We got 2 attacks, Bedrock Breaker, Bedrock Shaker. That was my nickname in high school. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I'm lying. For just a single fighting energy does 40 damage, and you discard a stadium in play. If there is a stadium, it is gone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say you may, you have to. And then we also have Giganto Tusk. It's a ridiculous name for triple fighting, 2 Triple H. I don't know why that popped into my head. You know what were amazing? Were those wrestling ice cream bars, and they were discontinued, and I don't know why, but they were amazing. My sister and I were talking about them, and Triple F reminded me of Triple H, and that brought me to okay, so Giganto Tusk, Giganto Tusk, triple fighting energy, does 250, do 50 damage to yourself. That's a lot of damage, 250. And part of the thing is you're going to be knocking. Now you can knock out a lot of stage 1 X's. You can knock out with a choice belt. You're knocking out Pokemon V Star. You're knocking out Pokemon V. You're not going to knock out some of the higher health Pokemon X's, even with the choice belt, because choice belt does not apply to X's. It specifically says if it does 30 more damage to your opponent's active V Pokemon, and X's aren't V's, so a little unfortunate there. Now, one of the things is, how do we actually power up something like Great Tusk? Fighting it does not have a lot of good energy acceleration. There is Gutsy Pickaxe, which is an option, but we have Koraidon X with the Dino Cry ability. Once during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting energy cards from your discard to your basic fighting Pokemon in any way you want. However, if you use this ability, your turn ends. Now, this is kind of interesting. We can use this to power up itself. We can power up Great Tusks, and we can power up maybe like random like Urshifu V. We can power up Riolus. We can power up quite a bit with this ability. But it has to be a basic Pokemon, so you're not able to attack, which is kind of unfortunate, because it just means that your opponent can boss KO whatever you powered up, and you did nothing really that turn. You didn't attack because the ability ends your turn, and you didn't even get the energies that you wanted because they just boss KO'd whatever you powered up with that. So kind of annoying. But if you can pull it off, it's a pretty good way to accelerate energies. You can get 3 in a single turn thanks to Dinocry and Attach for Turn. But we do have the attack Wild Impact for 220 damage if we get double fighting Colossus, and during your next turn this Pokemon can't attack. Fine, whatever. Now we're on to the Dark type Pokemon. We have Toxicroak X, and it's pretty decent at 250 health on a stage 1. Nasty Plot, search your deck for up to 2 cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle. That's not bad. It's a little weird because you're just leaving this 2 prize Pokemon in the active. You're not attacking, you're not accelerating energies. So there is a chance that you use Nasty Plot, you search your deck for 2 cards, and then they just go ahead and judge you. Or, well, I mean, they might judge your actions, but they play the card judge, right? And you, not only do you potentially lose the 2 cards that you just searched for, but you didn't get anything in return. Like, your attack did nothing. You almost like wasted a turn, if you will. So you didn't progress your board at all, which is a little unfortunate. So Nasty Plot's kind of interesting. I don't know how good it will be or how much use it'll see, but we are losing Marnie, so that's a good thing. And then we do have the Toxic Ripper attack, which is that's a badass name, Toxic Ripper. Love it. I really hope that stays the name when it gets to English. For Dark Double Colorless, 120 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Put 6 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1 between turns. So now you're hitting for 180 effectively, because 120 plus the 6 damage counters, that's 180. You get a Hisuian Sneasel, a Radiant Hisuian Sneasel in there. You put 2 more damage counters for poison. That means you're hitting 8 damage counters on poison plus the base 120, base 100 if we attach a DTE, which we probably will or might want to, need to. That's really solid. And we mentioned the muck that says that Pokemon aren't cured of their poison when they evolve. So you just keep that poison and they're just going to be taking 80 damage every turn. That's pretty solid. The next X is everybody's favorite, Oinkologne. I know people went crazy for a Lechonk when it was first revealed, and now you're going to be able to play a Lechonk deck. 260 health on a stage 1 X 2 prize Pokemon. Fragrance Fury, just 1 colorless energy, does 10 damage, but it does 30 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So you can have up to 5 Pokemon on your bench, which means you're doing 30 for 5, or 30 times 5, you're hitting for 150, plus base 10, you're hitting for 160 for just a single fighting energy, or single any energy, which is really good, right? Do that twice and you're knocking out anything in the game pretty much. Maybe not exactly, some things do have 330 health, but for the most part, you're knocking out pretty much everything for just 2 attacks, single energy, really decent. The problem is that it's really easy to play around. Your opponent sees you benching Lechonks, and they're not going to bench that many Pokemon. Now, there are going to be decks that really need to, decks that rely on, say, the Flaffy engine, the Curlia engine, maybe decks that rely on, like Lost Zone stuff. You tend to have a lot of Pokemon in play, so it is an option, or it is somewhat useful, at least at the moment. We'll have to see how the meta changes and how people play this, but I actually think this is not bad. Heavy Stamp is your second attack for triple colorless. 210 damage, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. It's fine, because there is a 50-50 chance that we can't attack, and you do have a lot of attacks like Wild Impact, which are double fighting colorless, or double lightning colorless. You do 220, and you can't attack, so this is 10 less damage. There's a 50% chance that you can attack, and you can use any energies you want. So I actually think this is better than something like a Wild Impact on a Koraidon X. I'm sorry I have to put this next one on screen. A lot of people don't like it. I myself am one of those people, but Spidops did get an X, and it has a pretty decent ability. I bet Spidops has lots of X's. We're going to make a lot of those jokes, by the way. Trap Territory is your ability. Your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost is 1 colorless more, and based on the translation that we have, that will stack. So if you have 3 Spidops X's in play, your opponent's active retreat cost is now 3 more, and with the removal or the loss of something like Scoop Up Net due to rotation, it's going to be really hard to get Pokemon out of the active. We're losing Escape Rope, not losing Escape Rope, we're losing Scoop Up Net and Air Balloon, so that's really tough. And then we have the attack Wire Hang for Grass Calls. It does 90 damage, but it also does 30 more damage for each energy in your opponent's retreat cost. So, or your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So something that has a native retreat cost of 2, 3, 4, you can add potentially up to 4 more energies, which means you could hit for 8 times 30, which is a lot of damage, plus 90. You're probably taking the KO in extreme circumstances. I mean, that's a pretty specific scenario. Arcanine X, we've seen stage 1, just like the Spidops, 280 health, Raging Claws for double fire, 30 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. It's good that this has a higher health. It's on par health-wise with V-Star Pokemon, right? Stage 1, it has 280 health. That's pretty decent. But yeah, it's just like you could take an attack, and you can like do some chip damage, maybe with Bright Claw, a Raging Claws, hit for 30 damage, whatever, and then you get hit. You can tank that damage likely because you have 280 health, and then you can go ahead and hit back really hard with Raging Claws the next turn. So I like, that's something I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I like that these Pokemon X's have different health ranges for what they kind of want to do. We did see V-Stars have different health ranges, right? There are some that have like 250. I think alone Vulpix V-Star has like 240 health. Whimsicott has 250, and then we have things like Lugia, Palkia, Arceus that are 280. So we do have that already exists. Eternatus has 340 health, and then we have something like Jolteon with 300. So like, yes, there are ranges, but it feels like with this that there's a reason behind why they have more or less health than like V-Stars that are just like, oh, this is a legendary, so we're automatically going to give it 280. It just kind of, I feel like I understand what they're going for a little bit more, which I do like. We do have a second attack with Arcanine, triple fire energy, Bright Flame, 250, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Magnezone X, we've seen for a long time right now, 330 health on a stage 2. Energy Crush for a lightning energy does 50 damage times the number of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So if they are playing a Lugia deck and accelerate too many energies, not only do they get hit for weakness, but they get hit for massive damage. That Energy Crush can do a lot of damage very quickly. And then you do have Pulse Launcher for 2 lightning energies, 220 damage, you do 30 to yourself. So if they do decide to play around your Energy Crush attack and don't attach a lot of energies, you just hit them for a solid 220 on just 2 energies. Really good. It is a stage 2, 330 health. It's not bad. I actually think Magnezone's not bad. One of the reasons Magnezone is not bad is because of Miraidon X with the Tandem Unit ability. Once during your turn, shed your deck for 2 basic lightning Pokemon and put them onto your bench, shuffle your deck. So you can get a Magnabite and another Miraidon. Then use the second Miraidon X's ability to get 2 more Magnemites. Or you can get like a Flaffy and a Magnemite, or 2 Flaffies, or like ways to like start powering up your engine and get things going. And then you have the Photon Blast of 2 lightning and a colorless, 220. During your next turn, this Pokemon can attack. It's the exact same attack as we've seen on Koraidon X, except now it's lightning instead of fighting. We have Banette X with the 250 health, another stage 1 X. There's a lot of stage 1 X's. And this has Eternal Darkness for a single Psychic Energy, 30 damage, and your opponent can't play item cards from their hand during the next turn. This is Quaking Punch from Seismitoad back several years ago at this point, and it's a little different, right? You have to evolve into the Seismitoad. Well, I don't think Seismitoad was a basic. I think it was an EX, so you didn't have to evolve it. I could be wrong. It'll be on screen. You'll see if I am wrong or not, but I didn't play that former, so I don't know. This is a stage 1, so you have to evolve it. Now, it's a little bit different than the item lock on like Vikavolt. Vikavolt V was a basic, so you could just slap it down, attach for turn, discard an energy with Radiant Greninja, and then Melanie, and boom, now you're able to attack. It does 50 damage, and you're item locked immediately. Your opponent's first turn. That means you get 1 turn of items, and the rest of the game, potentially, you could not be playing items thanks to Vikavolt's item lock. However, this is a stage 1, so you're going to get 2 turns. You go first, your opponent plays the Shuppet, then they can't evolve, so now you get to go again, play items still, and then your opponent will evolve into the Bayonet and hit you with their Eternal Darkness, and now you're item locked. But hopefully by then you will be relatively set up to deal with that between supporters and you know your deck's built-in synergy and accelerations and everything like that. So hopefully you don't need more than 2 turns. But if your opponent goes first, you're still going to get 1 turn potentially of items, but you will have access to supporters. So you just kind of try to make it happen as best they can. I won't be surprised if they run a heavy judge count in this kind of deck, just to use all these items when you can to get like your Pokemon, and then you just get judged and you have to shuffle and hope you find them off the 4 cards you get. So could be really interesting. The attack Poltergeist is returning for a Psychic Colors. Look at your opponent's hand. This attack does 6 damage for each trainer card in your opponent's hand. Trainers are items, tools. Items and tools are separate when Scarlet and Violet comes out. So items, tools, stadiums, and supporters are all trainer cards. So for each trainer card, you will take more damage, and you're not going to be able to get rid of those item cards because of the item lock. Now, the second they use they can use Eternal Darkness for a few turns, keeping, you have to just hold on to all of those items, and then hit you for a big Poltergeist later, which is a pretty decent strategy. So something to be mindful of. We have Iron Treads X. It's not very good in my opinion. 3 colorless energies, triple laser, does 30 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. Sounds like a good attack, but how do you power this thing up? Well, you can't target it with Arceus V or V-Star because it's not a Pokemon V, so that's out. You can't target it with Melanie because it's not a Pokemon V, so that's out. There's really no great acceleration. You can't use Metal Saucer because that's rotating. So how do you get those 3 energies? Well, the easy answer is double turbo energy. But when you do, it reduces your attack by 20 damage, which means you're hitting 3 of your opponent's Pokemon for just 10 damage. Is that worth it on a 220 health, 2 prize Pokemon? 3 energies, so you have to attach 2, a DT and something else, or find some other way to accelerate. I don't really know. Cybernetic Wheel for 3 metal and the colorless. 160, switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. It just doesn't do it for me. I'm just not a fan. Don't like it. Moving on to Lucario X, 260 health. Now, one of the things about these X Pokemon is that it makes it so interesting is that we evolve from Riolu. So we can evolve into the Brilliant Stars Lucario. There's a second Lucario in Scarlet and Violet that we can evolve into another single prizer. Or we can evolve into Lucario X. Or in the future, if we get other Lucario X's, we can evolve into those. Like, you have so many options on what you want to play and evolve into depending on what you are trying to accomplish for that turn, which is kind of cool and adds a layer of depth and strategy to the game, something to consider. Low Kick for a fighting colorless does 60 damage. Aura Sphere for 2 fighting and a colorless, 160 and 50 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. It's okay. Again, getting that double fighting colorless might be a little difficult, but it's doable between things like Gutsy Pickaxe, Dino Cry, Radiant Greninja, all those cards to really make that happen, but we'll have to see. I'll probably try it out at some point. Ampharos X, another stage 2, 330 health Pokemon X. Electro Ball for just a single lightning energy does 60. It's fine. Lightning Tail for lightning double colors does 140, and you can discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. If you do, it does 100 more damage. So you can hit for 240 or 220 by discarding something like a DTE, and that will knock out some Pokemon X, most Pokemon V, but not do enough to knock out a lot of Pokemon X or V-Star V Maxes, and you have to discard that energy. 330 health means you're probably going to survive whatever your opponent throws at you, but I don't know if it's worth getting to do 220 damage. Like, there's so many other Pokemon that can do 220 a lot faster and a lot easier than Ampharos X, so I'm not really convinced. And our very last Pokemon X is Mimikyu X, a basic X with 190 health, very, very squishy. Void Return, 30 damage, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Fine. I don't know what else you really want to switch into. You don't want to switch into like your Ralts or Curlius because they're part of your engine. You don't want to switch into another Mimikyu because it's probably just going to get knocked out. So it's okay. And then honestly, if your opponent really wanted, they could just boss up the Mimikyu anyway and KO it. But you force them to play the boss, which is something. And you have Energy Burst, Psychic Double Colorless, 30 damage times the number of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So you're going to be hitting for a minimum of 90 damage, or I guess technically a minimum of 70 if we attach a DTE, plus the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active, which if you're going against the Lugia, will be 4, which means you're hitting for 7 energies. Well, I guess you would have 3, yeah, so you're going to hit for 7. That's pretty good. 210, if you have a DTE, you're hitting 190, that's actually not good at all. Not a fan. Not a fan. Just not strong enough, and it's really squishy. I don't think it's very good. So there you have it. Every single Pokemon X coming with Scarlet and Violet. What do you think of them? I want to hear from you in the comments below. Which one's your favorite? Which one's your least favorite? Do you think they're going to see play immediately, or are we going to need a set or two to kind of start to filter out some of the Vs and get some really good support for Pokemon X? And yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found it informative. If you did, I already said a like, subscribe, comment, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. And I'll see you next time.